Hi everyone. In this lecture for SWB306, we're going to explore issues surrounding employment and income support and disability. So participation in the economy, which means your ability to work and earn money, is really important because it builds what we call human capital, but it builds the resourcefulness of individuals but also of communities. Okay, and participation in work is considered a part of the United Nations Convention of the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. So it recognises the rights of people to work and that they should be able to do that equally and be given that opportunity. So in Australia, we have this National Disability Strategy that we've touched on before, and it has 6 key policy areas, and one of those is employment. One is also around education and how that links to employment for people, and wanting to find out how we can transition people from planning and supporting them from education into employment. So that's something we often think of in terms of uni students or young graduates, but it's also something we might think of with other vulnerable population groups, such as people with disability. Traditionally, workforce participation rates for people with a disability are low, and that happens in many parts of the world, but in particular in Australia. So what we can see here is out of the OECD nations, it's the 21st out of the 29th. 1 in 5 people with a disability are not in the workforce. 53.4% of people with a disability are participating in the labour force or have a job, basically, compared to 83% of people who don't have a disability. And for young people, this is worse. It's only 50, what have we got here? The labour force participation is 56.6, whereas with their peers it's at 70%. So it's also low for that group as well. Now, you may have heard about this idea of welfare to work, and simply sort of stating it means that if you receive a welfare benefit, you should be encouraged into work. So we think of that for everyone except for old age pensioners. And so for even people with a disability, most of them are, required or often encouraged to look for work. So if you, for instance, use a wheelchair, you might still be required to look for work. Obviously, it's just going to be work that is accessible for you, and that can be a challenge for people. So what happened with John Howard in 2006, they changed the range and number of people who needed to look for work in relation to their disability. So it wasn't that we had too many people with a disability claiming those benefits or people sort of rorting the system, but essentially this is a way of saving money. If we have more people in work, then the government's not paying as much money. But of course, many people do want to work as well, and they want to participate. So there's a double-edged sword here, really, in a way. Like, there's good and bad things to this idea of welfare to work for people who live with a disability. It wasn't just people with a disability who were targeted with welfare to work. It's single parents, long-term unemployed, older people, carers, and this continues. We're seeing this push throughout welfare legislation for a long period of time. Young people with disabilities have been particularly targeted. So more people under the age of 35 often have their disability support pensions reviewed compared to older people, for instance. So there's this idea that young people should be out there earning money, supporting themselves and contributing, even though they may have a disability. So unfortunately, though, this idea of welfare to work comes with some nasty ideas. It comes for some people with an assumption that people are lazy, people who claim welfare benefits. So we can see some of these discourses happening here, slackers, or the idea that people with a disability claiming benefits are a burden. So, they believe, there's around 5,000 people on the disability support pension who can work, and they may be able to work. It doesn't mean they can find work. So many of you might believe you're able to do a specific job or more hours or whatever. It doesn't mean it's available to you. So The idea is that, so many people are kept on these programs. They're not really sick. They're not that bad. So comments like, if you behave like you're sick all the time, you actually start to believe it. You start to believe your own BS. If you're offered some sort of inducement or reward, a whole heap of people jump on the bandwagon. But doctors are in a difficult situation to separate the sheep from the goat, who generally needs it and who doesn't. So you can see this idea here that people are ripping off the system and don't really have a real disability. So if we look at, people don't earn a lot of money on things like disability support pensions or New Start allowances. Very few people would want to do that over work because you are often living below the poverty line. I don't need to tell that to most of you because you are students. Many of you living at home supporting yourself, so you're already living in poverty, so you probably understand what that's like. So you may have seen this term here, mutual obligation, and this has become a very popular term, and what it means is that if we give people a benefit in the community, then they're obliged to do something back for us in the community, except if you're an old age pensioner, because the idea there is that you've earned that pension. So Greg Marsden has done some great research here, and Lisa Stafford, who used to teach in this class. And there's a lot of language that comes with people who take welfare benefits, even if they are people who experience a disability. So we might have heard these terms bludger or rorter, so somebody who's ripping off the systems. Or we've also heard the idea of a leaner. Joe Hockey talks about you're leaning on the system. And we have this discourse now, are you a leaner or a learner? Like, are you in education or are you on the welfare system? So we see a lot of people coming into education, maybe into higher education, so as not to be, on these benefit systems. Sometimes people who may not be actually that interested in what they're studying even. So that's not always the case, obviously. There's lots of people who are very interested in what they are studying, but what I'm trying to say is this welfare discourse means that for some people they're actually pushed into education quite often. Doesn't necessarily mean that's their first choice. So this perception towards people has become a bit of an us and them, an adversarial approach. So there's been reviews in 2006 and just in 2015 of people under 35 who claim a disability support pension. And this is some of the findings from research that Lisa and Greg have done. So yeah, to say that somebody who generally has an issue that stops them from working or stops them from working as much as they like to, they don't deserve to be supported by the government. I think it's sending a really bad message. Just the fact that it's constant. Every newspaper you pick up, it's about disability support pension bludgers. It's like, really? Is that really how we should be talking about people with a disability who really do have significant barriers to work? So once again, what we can see here is language is really important. The way that we use language shapes how things are provided and how we think about ourselves. So it's important for us to consider that. Now, this is a part of a global trend, unfortunately. A really paternalistic way, or like a parent over a child way of sanctioning disability income support. And so what we've seen over the years in certain countries is tightened eligibility, so it's harder to become eligible for these kinds of supports. You have to work in order to get the supports. If you don't, you'll be sanctioned, so you'll lose money, things will be taken from you. And more reassessing of people's eligibility. And so for some people, that's pretty annoying because their disability isn't going to change significantly despite these continual kind of assessments that are happening. So the numbers do a lot of talking here when we look at the people who've applied for benefits relating to their disability. So in 2018, 84,000 people wanted to receive disability support pensions, but only 24,000, or a little over that, were able to receive that. So it's only around 30% here. That's the lowest rate it's been for a very long time, so it's around 1 in 4 So that means if you're not eligible for that, you might be given New Start instead. And so then, New Start means you're looking for paid work, and that can be very hard to do. Doesn't pay very well, and of course, if you've still got a disability, what they're simply doing is shifting the focus here from the idea that you have a disability and should be supported from the state, saying your disability is not really that bad and you should be working. And so it's trying to get people off welfare sooner than later. But of course, it doesn't always work like that. That's making an assumption that work is available for people. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to finish this video here, and I want you to have a look at some of the media links that I've put here just to demonstrate what I'm talking about.